Okay, let's dive in. April 2025, clearly a pretty big month for the SKALE Network. We've got the official ecosystem recap here.
Exactly. And we're not just going to read it out, right?
Yeah.
The idea is to really unpack what these milestones, the tech upgrades, the ecosystem growth, all that stuff from April, what it actually means.
Yeah, what does it tell us about where SKALE's going? And, for you listening, what's the takeaway if you're maybe thinking about building or just using the apps?
We want to get past the kind of press release headlines and see the substance behind it all.
Right. And the first thing that really jumps out, the big number, is SKALE hitting over 100 million monthly transactions. First time ever.
That's a huge number. And the recap mentions SKALE co-founder Jack O'Halloran emphasizing these fundamental metrics like transaction volume as being key for judging, real success.
Hitting 100 million in 1 month.
Yeah.
It definitely indicates a lot of activity under the hood.
It does. It's a powerful signal.
Okay, but hold on. 100 million transactions. How do we know they're, meaningful? Could it just be like bot spam or something low value driving that number up? What does it really tell a user or a dev about network health?
That is the crucial question, absolutely. And the recap kind of answers that by pointing to where the activity is happening. Hitting that number shows SKALE's high throughput capacity, sure. But the critical piece, which you see in the apps driving this, is that it happened with zero gas costs.
Zero gas, right.
So it's not just theoretical speed. It means SKALE is genuinely usable for these performance-heavy Web3 apps, things that often just, choke on high fees or slow speeds elsewhere.
It's tackling that friction problem head on.
Exactly. That friction that just kills the user experience so often.
So where is all this performance and zero gas stuff actually being used?
Yeah.
The recap seems pretty clear. Gaming is a big one.
Oh, absolutely. April saw 3 significant new games launch on SKALE, highlighted right there. You've got CropBytes, which is a Web3 farming RPG. Then for Loot and Glory, that's more adventure, treasure hunting. And GoArt Worlds, which they call a digital art multiverse.
Interesting mix. And I guess the common thread is they all need that speed and, lack of fees.
That's what the recap pulls out, yeah. They need that high performance, zero gas for just smooth gameplay. Like CropBytes, it has on-chain assets, an open economy, needs real-time actions.
Makes sense.
And for Loot and Glory, it lets players do things like exploring, leveling up directly on-chain in real time.
Wow, okay.
Then GoArt Worlds uses SKALE's instant finality, transactions confirmed immediately, no waiting around.
Right, no waiting for multiple blocks.
Yeah, plus the scalability just for a smooth experience browsing and trading art. The zero gas in these cases isn't just like a nice to have, it feels essential for the actual moment-to-moment gameplay.
Keeps players actually playing, not worrying about transaction costs every click.
Exactly, it removes that constant friction.
So beyond the new apps, April also had some core improvements, right, for people actually using or building on SKALE day to day.
Yeah, the Block Explorer got a pretty major upgrade. Version 2.2.0 rolled out across all the SKALE chains.
And the recap mentioned some specifics.
It did. Revamped UI, so it looks better, easier to use, much better visibility for tokens and contracts, apparently, and just generally smoother navigation.
So not just cosmetic. It actually makes it easier for, both developers trying to debug or see what's going on, and users just wanting to track their transactions or assets. Makes the whole network more transparent, more accessible.
Yeah, easier to see what's actually happening on-chain.
Okay. And speaking of developers, there were some important technical steps forward in April too, building for the future.
Definitely. 2 big things mentioned in the recap stood out. First, the S2S transfer feature went live on mainnet.
S2S. What does that actually let developers do?
So S2S stands for Scale Chain to Scale Chain. It lets smart contracts on different separate SKALE chains talk to each other directly, seamlessly.
Ah, okay. So why is that a big deal for someone building?
It's huge because it opens the door to much more complex, more powerful cross-chain apps. You could have different parts of your application living on different SKALE chains, maybe each chain optimized for a specific task.
Right.
And S2S lets those parts communicate directly. You don't need these complex, sometimes risky bridges just for contracts to talk to each other within the SKALE ecosystem.
That unlocks some really interesting architectural possibilities,
Yeah.
thinking beyond just single-chain apps.
Exactly. It's about building interconnected ecosystems, not just isolated apps.
And the second developer thing, something about a proposal.
Yeah, a new SKALE improvement proposal, SIP3. It was posted in the SKALE forum for discussion.
And SIP3 is about?
It proposes a new type of SKALE chain. They're calling it a performance SKALE chain.
Right.
The basic idea, according to the proposal, is that this type of chain would use fewer network resources than, say, a standard hub chain.
Meaning potentially cheaper to run.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. Making it potentially less expensive to operate within the network's resource allocation model.
And the recap notes, the forum is where the community gets involved, reviews it, discusses it, shows that sort of community-driven evolution path.
Right. It's not just top-down decisions.
And there was also mention of Stan Kladko, the co-founder, being on a podcast.
Yeah, Web3 Frontier. The recap highlights he was discussing Scale's approach to tackling MEV maximal extractable value.
Ah, the front-running problem.
Exactly. How validators can potentially profit by reordering transactions. And also how Scale achieves genuine cross-chain interoperability, mentioning things like threshold encryption.
Which is pretty key for securely managing data across a decentralized network.
Definitely deep tech stuff, but important for the network's foundation.
Okay, so lots of internal development. What about outside validation? Did the recap mention anything like that, or real-world examples?
It did. Scale got highlighted as a top layer 1 blockchain in a report by our network. That's, independent recognition.
It's good validation.
Yeah.
And they also shared some Q1 metrics.
Yeah, from the recap itself. And they're pretty impressive, especially considering, as the recap puts it, uncertain market conditions.
Okay, what were the numbers?
In Q1 2025, nearly 250 million total transactions. That's up 46% from the previous quarter.
Wow, almost $250 million.
And 9.7 million unique active wallets, which was up 33%. So significant growth in actual usage, not just, price speculation.
That points to real network activity driving things.
It suggests growth fueled by genuine adoption and applications being used.
And they highlighted a specific partner, right? Bid Hotel.
Yes, that was a great case study in the recap. It's a social gaming metaverse, and it scaled from 10,000 daily active users to 50,000 in just 1 year on Scale.
10K to 50K daily users in a year. That's serious growth.
And the recap really connects that growth directly to Scale's features, zero gas fees, and the ability to have those real-time interactions that a social game absolutely needs.
So it's like a concrete example of the zero gas advantage actually working in the wild, driving user growth and keeping them there.
Exactly. Proof that it's translating into tangible results for partners.
And then finally, the recap mentioned a community wrap-up.
Yeah, a Q1 community wrap-up and AMA session with the CEO and community manager. Covered those Q1 wins we talked about and gave a little preview of Q2.
Ties it all together, the tech, the usage, the community.
It really paints a picture of April being a month where Scale demonstrably scaled up, broadened its application base, especially in gaming, and laid more groundwork for the future.
So if we pull all this together from the April recap, Scale hit that huge 100 million transaction mark, brought on new games hungry for performance.
Right. CropBytes for loot and glory, GoArt Worlds.
Improved the core tools like the Block Explorer and push forward key dev tech like S2S transfers and that new performance chain idea.
Plus getting that external validation from our network and seeing partners like Bit Hotel just explode in user numbers.
Yeah. So after this deep dive into the recap, you should have a much better sense of the momentum from April. It seems driven by that core combo. High performance, zero gas, tools for developers, and actual use cases like gaming, proving it works.
It's not just theory, it's happening in practice.
So here's something to think about. Given Scale's really rapid growth in transactions and users, especially in areas like gaming and all this ongoing development of S2S transfers, new chain types for complex apps, what does this intense focus on performance, zero gas, and interoperability suggest? What specific kinds of dApps and user experiences seem most likely to thrive here, and maybe even push Web3 adoption more broadly in the near future? Just something to mull over.